Welcome to the Humans of Hospitality podcast with me, Mark Cribb, and today is the day. I'm actually recording this intro on July the 4th, 2020, a date that will probably be remembered in the world of hospitality, at least in England, for quite some time. With respectful appreciation of listeners in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and of course around the globe, at least in England today, hospitality is turning the lights back on. I, for one, am very excited to reopen my doors and will be heading off very shortly to tour the venues. I'm lucky to only have 4 that are all within a few miles of each other, so I'll be rotating around them throughout the day, thanking customers and team members for being fantastic enough to visit on day one. Now, as expected, the complexity of reopening has been way beyond what we imagined. I guess some operators open venues at a rate of knots all of the time, such as the likes of loungers, and hats off to them for having the systems and processes in place to do so. It's funny when starting from a standing start, completely empty fridges where normally there would be some sort of rolling prep, incredibly supportive suppliers we needed to agree payment plans with to get the wheels of industry turning again. It's definitely been exciting. And now we head off into the unknown. How many guests will come at all? How many will want to be met by a team in full PPE and will be concerned not to be so? How many will be completely oblivious to the pandemic and want to arrive with parties of mates from multiple households? How much of government guidance will we be expected to enforce, and how much will we have to rely on the compliance and good nature of the public? Will customers be happy with the new reduced menus? Will they be understanding of the complexity of what is happening behind the scenes, or will they be demanding? In reality, I suspect it will be all of the above. I suspect most people will be utterly decent and appreciative to get back to some sort of normality. How long it will last, we shall have to see. Now, podcast-wise, I've very much enjoyed chatting to so many different people during lockdown. It's kept me sane, and from some of the feedback I've had, many of you have also found it helpful. I've been lucky enough to chat to UK Hospitality, Hospitality Action, the Restaurant Association, the Institute of Hospitality, Hawksmoor, Rockfish, Jonathan Downey, Honest Burgers, CGA Data, and many, many more. It has been fantastic to have such a deep insight from so many people, and I'd just like to thank the guests for being happy to get involved. Now things shift a little, and I'll try and get some guests on to chat about the experiences of actually reopening rather than strategizing during closure. Today's guest is the last of the recordings that I made during closure, and it was a couple of weeks ago, so please excuse the date references. I have 4 episodes recorded pre-lockdown that I will try and release now. Though a little dated, they were some great chats before we had any idea a pandemic was on its way. So there may be a small gap in the more time-specific chats while I give operators a chance to get their doors open, and my next new recording is currently scheduled in for the 16th of July, so thank you for your patience whilst there is a little shift in focus. But on to today, where I'm catching up with the exceptionally fascinating Andrea Rasca. Andrea is a walking philosopher with some very strong opinions on the ethics of business and the community around food and drink. I've interviewed Andrea before about his business and his journey, but today we focus on the recent opening of his latest venue in an absolutely stunning old church in Mayfair in London. I'll let you listen to Andrea's eloquent description of that stunning space. Now, Andrea stayed open in some guise throughout the lockdown, since their business is pretty diverse, from a deli, bakery, shop, all the way to street trade units. And Andrea's philosophy that entrepreneurship means sometimes you make money and sometimes you lose money, but all the way through, you must focus on and serve your community. We touch on the Dream Incubator campaign that they shifted to online due to Corona, and how the success of that has motivated Andrea to try and expand it to overseas markets. And I explore Andrea's thoughts on why small is beautiful, and in some ways how that can even be translated to how countries are managing the pandemic, including his home country of Italy. And we end on the agricultural bill and the necessity to at least keep moving forwards with food standards and ethics, and not to see leaving the EU as a chance to make any backward steps. I very much hope you enjoy the conversation, and remember, please do me a very quick favour. Pick up your podcast player, press pause, scroll down to the review section and click on 5 stars for me. Even better, if you have the time, leave a few words. It really helps the algorithms to increase listeners to the show, meaning I can get better guests for you and I to enjoy. Ah, yes. And one quick thing I almost forgot. I had to record this on a funny little phone gizmo with Andrea because he was on a tablet-based system rather than a PC that I normally use to get better quality audio. So please excuse the fact that my voice is louder than his and some of the audio is a little bit funny. But we did our very best. Enjoy. Thanks. Andrea Rasca from Mercato Metropolitano, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Again, we spoke back in November on episode 54, so a little while ago. How are you and where are you in the world? Are you at your office?
First of all, thank you for this interview again, and it's a pleasure to talk to you, Mark. I'm in London because basically we can't move that much. And even if we can move, then we cannot come back because of this 14 days quarantine policy in UK. So we are in London. We've been staying here for the last 3 months.
Okay, excellent. Well, look, I thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you last time. So, for anybody who wants to hear your backstory and how you ended up in hospitality and all that you do, they can go back and listen to the last episode we recorded. So, if they go to humansofhospitality.co.uk and type in for episode 54, or just type in Andrea, your name, and that will come up. But today, I predominantly want to focus, I suppose, on what's happened in the 6 months since I last met you, and then specifically talk around the pandemic and how you've responded to that and your thoughts to reopening. But when I last met you, I think you just opened your Mayfair location. Yes, exactly. So we'll start there. How did that go? How does it compare with Elephant and Castle? This is sort of pre-pandemic. What was the response?
But it was a very good response because we had approximately 30 to 40%. We were 30-40% above the forecast. In sales, it exploded actually. It was incredibly busy from day one. And I was very happy to see that the typology of people are always the same. Wherever we open, there are people from families with kids. And the only thing which is a little bit different that in Mayfair, obviously you have more offices. So during lunchtime, you see more people with ties and jackets. That's the only big difference. For the rest, it's absolutely the same because I do believe that people are people wherever you go. So it was a very, very big success, even in community terms, because we, as you know, we opened a 300 square meter community space inside Mayfair, inside the Mercato Mayfair, and we started immediately with classes for kids. Free guitar classes and a lot of we leave the space basically to the local community to come and discuss. We offer food, and it's a place to meet and to recreate a community around a location that was used to be a church. And at the end of the day, whatever your religion is, a church is a place where people assemble and talk, and now it's not obviously a church anymore, but it remains, like all markets should, remain a space for meeting people and discussing and eating together and engaging in various activities, learning, studying, painting, or playing, whatever.
Yeah, it's an incredible space. Can you just describe it, Andrea? Because you walk in and you've got this huge sort of atrium, but downstairs from memory, you've got sort of little kind of enclaves and stuff. So yeah, can you describe it?
It just, when I entered the first time, I was kind of scared by the beauty of that building because it's a proper, beautiful, well done church. Ex-church now, obviously, from I think the 70s. And once you enter, you have this ground floor, which is enormous, beautiful, and with a lot of stained glasses and amazing piece of art. And over there, you find the ground floor, you will find 6 of our vendors. You will find the amazing pizza, the amazing pasta, and the gelato, and also our grocery where you can buy your products. And actually, this is what we've been doing the last 3 months. Obviously, it's worked very well. And then you have 2 amazing corners with a real 100% Japanese tea offer with matcha cakes and a beautiful beer corner. But if you instead take the stairs and you go downstairs in the basement. You have this beautiful red bricks walls with vaults, and half of it has been destined to an ham and one full vault of hams, one full vault of cheeses, and one full vault of wines, and another one of production of beer. So you can have your charcuterie and cheeses and boards. And then you can also, in the other side, instead, as I was saying before, attend the classes or engage with the community, because downstairs is where we also have the community center. And then instead you take the other stairs and you go on the first floor on the two balconies. Then you will find other 8 offers of food, from Japanese to bao to Thai to our amazing plant-based restaurant, and then a beautiful terrace with fresh fish and drinks. So it's a place, again, as usual, as always with Mercato, is a sustainable market, because we do not use plastic, we do not use brands, we don't want any chemical food, etc., etc. But it's also a community-driven exercise where the community is the most important aspect. We offer food even in Mayfair with an entry point of price which is very accessible for the quality we give, because this is our philosophy and this is who we are. We don't change that wherever we open.
Yeah, no, nice, and I recommend people go and see it, even just for the beauty of the building
Very,
itself.
yes.
It's practically a tourist attraction, but it is
Yeah, it
full of
is. It is.
also full of amazing food and drink. So we're obviously coming up towards sort of mid-June. We've been in lockdown. We're just starting to see the sort of early stages of release. Were you open all the way through from the shop perspective, or did you close for the original couple of weeks of the lockdown?
Um, we never closed the groceries because we were a necessity. We were a food store where people could come and buy the essentials, obviously. And don't forget that for us, it was also our only point of connection with our community. And we never stopped serving them through different channels, through different initiatives, obviously. So we kept the 2 groceries, one in Elephant and Castle and one in Mayfair, open. Um, Obviously, it was a big sacrifice for us, because you can imagine, it, not only for the people and for all the precautions we had to take to keep all of our employees safe, it's also a matter of business and financial situation where, uh, luckily enough, we managed not to leave anybody at home, and we furloughed 80% of our employees. But for the other people who decided to stay because they wanted to keep on serving the community, we had to take all the right precaution. We did. And for 2 months and a half, we've been working even harder if possible.
Okay. You also represent a lot of traders who presumably are independent traders, are they? So they. I guess most of the sort of street traders have had to close. Would that be correct?
Yeah, it is correct. And some of them decided to join us in our effort in our grocery. So we opened up an online sales shop through Shopify. And actually, some of them cooked their product and sold it through our Shopify. So some of them did not completely close their businesses thanks to these activities that we initiated, and through our own delivery. So we had our drivers and our trucks. We kept on delivering food and ready meals to the communities around us. But most of them had to close, obviously.
Mm. What was the impact on the grocery store, as a matter of interest? Did you find you were busier? Because obviously a lot of supermarkets had queues and a lot of people were flipping to delivery and couldn't get deliveries. So yeah, was it?
Yes, actually, in terms of pure retail sales, we almost tripled sales.
Right. Wow.
So it was obviously not enough to to
Yeah.
be good enough for a company like ours, but we were very happy to see that our visitors and our friends were very happy that
Yeah.
we were still open. And And it was a matter in these moments, it's not a matter of, we know we were gonna lose money. That's quite clear, and it's part of the life of an entrepreneur of a company. There are moments you make more money, there are moments in which you lose money, but you must always keep in mind that you are here to serve the community, and there are moments in which you make more money and less money, but that's it. It's part of the life cycle of any business. So we are not, because we were growing so much even before, till end of mid of March, we were still growing at a 35% approximately year on year. And mind you, we grew from 9 million pounds in the 2017 to 15.2 in 2018 to 22 in 2019. And in 2020, first 3 months, we were growing another 35%. So we were in a honestly very healthy position to face this pandemic, which obviously it would have been better without.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but good that you've got a diverse enough business that you could at least keep trading in some way, which I imagine kept you sane, because you're not particularly good, it would seem, at switching off, Andrea. I know you live and breathe this business. Have you had any downtime during this period, or has it just been a
No, no,
period of
no,
sort
no,
of
no, no, no.
intensity?
Even more, because in moments like these, and I remember the day when I came back from Japan, and it was the day in which they closed all shops, etc. I was shocked, obviously, and I think it was the right thing to do to for 1 month to shut down everything. The lockdown was correct. Uh, but that's what happens when I see things happening like this. It's you put another gear on and you say, okay, now it's time to immediately react, because the most important thing is the capacity to react. You have no time. You have a lot of people depending on you, your community, people who could not eat. And one thing I didn't like about this were people posting it's right to stay home, which was right on one side, but people were not thinking about probably 20-30% of the population, which were already below the poverty line or the line of being able to feed their kids 3 times per day, and they were living in very small apartments. How did you reply to these people? Stay home with 3 kids, maybe in a 40 square meter apartment, and people were not thinking about. Some of the people were not thinking about them, and so what we thought was, well, our mission is always the same. It's now maybe they need us even more, so there was no time to think about this, and we immediately started delivering food bags and delivering hot meals, and that's it. So honestly, there was probably half an hour of deciding
Yeah,
what to do, and then it was done.
perfect. I knew what the answer was going to be before I asked you, but actually, that's the reason that I wanted to catch up with you, Andrea, was to find out sort of the stuff you'd been up to. So I know that whenever there's change, entrepreneurs in many ways love throwing all the balls in the air and sort of changing things around, and things like this do spark the necessary reaction of
Yeah.
creativity, I suppose. So, what sort of stuff have you done in the last few months that you would not have done? What sort of initiatives have you started that wouldn't have started if this pandemic had not come along?
I tell you frankly, nothing, because in reality, uh, it was all in our plans, in our minds. But what really helped us was the fact that we had to stop concentrating on the main business, and we were late in the things we wanted to do. Because when you are running and growing so much, sometimes you don't dedicate enough energy to the, let's say, the smaller initiatives, but which are as important as the main ones, but you're just, too busy and you do not have enough time to do it. So what really changed is that I could focus on things that I had no time to focus on, which was the grocery, the research of the best possible suppliers, which were aligning their values with ours, so no chemicals, etc., etc. And then one thing which I was very proud of, and was already in our plans because we started in January, actually, it was the Dream campaign. One of the ideas was not to look for new vendors or people who wanted to join us, but what I wanted to hear from people was their dreams. I tell you one small story, Mark. When I came back from New York, it was last year. I remember I arrived very late. It was at 10 or 11 o'clock, and I came back directly to my Mercato, and there was a little bit of a queue to enter our grocery. But I arrived with my luggage, obviously, and the security let me in because they knew me. And one guy in front of the queue said, "Why are you letting this guy in?" And he said, "Because he's Andrea, he's the founder." And he said, "I don't believe you." So he came to me and said, "Are you really Andrea Rasca?" I said, "Yes." "Oh, sorry. Then I have to tell you one thing. We come here because the food is good, amazing, whatever, but we come here for one main reason. It's because you incubate small people and you give to these people a place to execute their dreams, to start their ventures." And honestly, I was surprised because that is what I'm doing, but I did not realize that people were realizing it. Honestly, they were aware of what we were doing. So that day I said, "Guys, if people stop me and tell me this, we need to continue on this path." So in September, I started this campaign. In January, we wanted to launch it. We were a little bit delayed, and then the coronavirus happened, and everybody said, obviously, let's stop it and let's continue later. I said, no, let's just do it online. And we created this drink campaign. You can follow this on Instagram. And basically, we launched this competition and we received so many videos and ideas. We had then to obviously choose among them a little bit, which is terrible. I don't like to choose among all these ideas. We will be in touch with all of them. But then we can come down to more than 40 applications, which were very interesting. And now we are in the process of selecting few of them to start immediately as soon as we can in our market. We will incubate some of the ideas, giving them a free space to test their products if they are chefs or cooks or if they want to cook. Or in other cases that we some people came up with new app for Mercato, the ideas, or hydroponics, or so many different ideas, Mark, which is wonderful. And the most important factor was to give hope to these people, even during this pandemic, to give them an horizon of hope when this pandemic would finish, but also for my people to be in touch with the community. So we were talking to these people and engaging with them, and that created such a lively movement that helped us all to be in contact with reality and ready for the next steps. So I'm very proud of this.
Amazing. Yeah, I had a little look actually. I had a look at a couple of the YouTube videos and some of the ideas, which were great. Was this just purely people based in the UK or was this overseas
At
as
the
well?
moment, yes, because I told you, we just said, okay, guys, let's launch it. We don't know what's going to be the outcome of this. Let's launch it in a small scale. And the result was so wonderful that I wanted this to be the way we recruit new people, even to hire new people, by the way, or to get new vendors in, to get new partners in. And because it was so successful, instead of using the user channels, this is going to be our channel from for UK, for Germany, for Italy, for USA. We are going to launch drink campaigns all around the world.
Amazing. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. One of the other things that I saw you launch was the circular veggie box. What is that, Andrea?
Wow, that's another thing. What we had to do is to provide food to people. That's a basic thing. And sometimes we forget that there are people, as I was saying before, that do not have access to good, nutritious, healthy food every day. And so what we did was we were selling vegetable, fruit and veg. We were getting it from various suppliers, among which Riverford and others. And because sometimes we had this as you know, it's not even leftovers, a vegetable which were a little bit, let's say, I call them tired. They were not as beautiful as the first day, but they were absolutely wonderful products that we would use to create a soup for our employees, for us, for ourselves. And for other people, we created these circular boxes where we used to put all these vegetable and most of the time give it for free to most of the people or just a small contribution, which would then enable us to pay back with the hundreds of food bags that we provided during the last 2 months.
Amazing, nice. They've been well received. You can only get these delivered in sort of central London, is that right?
Yes, because we have our own delivery system, and if you wait for the big deliveries, etc., they charge you 30%, and they couldn't care less about what we do for the community, and so they're not a viable way of delivering food. And we all know this. So we have a new strategy for the future, also on how to reach people everywhere in London without resourcing to this kind of delivery system, which I don't really believe in.
Yeah. So how are you going to do that? You getting yourself a push bike, Andrea? Or?
We are gonna do we are gonna do it by opening in the next year very small neighborhood short version of which can deliver locally what we produce and make in our own and these small neighborhood will engage directly with the community around them in order to provide education, in order to tell people what is fresh to eat, what is seasonal to eat. We need to go back to, you remember probably, in Italy we call it drogherie, the small grocery store where my mother would go, and the same lady who would cut 100 grams of wonderful Parma ham would also, if you asked for it, put it in the bread you just bought and make a panino for you without additional charges, obviously. But it was also a shop where you could buy your essential for the day. So it's, I don't like the way also supermarkets are developed nowadays. You just enter and you buy anything you find on a shelf which you don't understand what it is. No one tells you what it is, and most of the time, even if you try to read the label, you don't understand few of the of the phrases, of the words that are written in the label. So this system has created this big vacuum between the consumers and the producer and the farmers. People don't understand where the product comes from, and because of all this bureaucracy, basically only the big companies are earning money at the expenses of the health and the well-being of the citizens.
Yeah. Well, I know this is one of your manifesto points, isn't it? Is that
Yes, it is. It
small
is.
is beautiful is one of the ones on there that I love.
I
So why is small beautiful, and why is that important to you, Andrea?
Because you've seen it also in this pandemic, Mark. At the national level, it was a disaster from every point of view, not the UK. I'm talking about every country apart from very few, and you can count them on your hand. Small countries managed locally, mostly by women, by the way, and who have a very local management. Germany, for instance, because it's managed locally, they had less troubles than any other country, and Sweden and New Zealand. But if you take all nations, honestly, my fear is that the bigger we become, the less contact there is with the local people. So, look at mayors, for instance. I do believe that the future is in the hands of mayors of cities more than governments in nations. And if you look at big corporations, look at Monsanto, Bayer, or look at Unilever or Tesco, they try to do something by looking good, but 98% of what they sell is causing damage to people. So there's no way these people with big shareholders who needs to have a quarter reports and increase in their value of their shares will ever care about people. And only if you get in touch with people and you talk to the local people, you make them again become human beings and not just numbers or customers. I think this is what we've been doing for the last 30 years, and the results are in front of us. So it's true, this coronavirus was a big hit, but if we talk about numbers, 50 million people die every year because of, let's say, chronic diseases connected to lifestyle and food every year. Diabetes, and heart attacks, etc., etc. So I think sometimes we should go back to the essentials and focus on what is very important for us, which is giving people the first medicine of all, which is good food.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that. There's a certain irony, I think, isn't it, is that what the press grab hold of and focus on. Yet, heart disease is the biggest killer, globally, and the biggest impact on heart disease is what we eat, and it just
Yes.
doesn't get enough focus, does it? If anything, it feels like this continual sort of race to the bottom in our food standards and the supermarkets. Yeah, they're just 90% of the aisles are full of 40,000 products, and what do we actually
Yes.
need? Probably less than 100, I would imagine. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
a frustrating scenario. I'm interested in sort of your perspective. So back on the pandemic, I guess Italy was the first country in Europe. We saw it get hit very hard. What was your thoughts? Because obviously that's where your roots are. So I suppose first of all, are your friends and family okay? And then what were your thoughts as you saw it heading over? I suppose as to why Italy got hit, and did you sort of recognise the inevitability that it would then end up sort of in the UK and we'd follow a similar trajectory?
I tell you, at the beginning, we were all scared, obviously, because we didn't know what that coronavirus was. And after reading that first research, we said this is worse than the Spanish flu. 1.5 million people are going to die. So we were all scared. And I was honestly shocked that Lombardia, in particular, not all of Italy was hit so badly. But I must say that I'm a little bit ashamed to say that it was mostly due to our region government, which was a disaster. The way they reacted was shameful. And not Milan in particular, which was quite well handled, not at the beginning, but immediately afterwards. But the region was a disgrace. And again, you see, the bigger you become, the worse it is to manage. So region level was a disaster in Italy. It was hit also because I think it was badly measured. I don't think, honestly, that Italy was hit the hardest. I was just the way people were measured and where the chronic diseases were measured at the same level as the coronavirus. And then people did not understand anymore who was dying for coronavirus or with coronavirus, which is a big distinction, obviously. So I knew at the beginning that it would hit also UK because, again, I don't believe that Milan is different from London, and it hit UK strongly. And now, luckily enough, all of my family and friends were okay, and I started talking to a lot of people, and actually, we started realizing that everybody was okay, apart from maybe having being feeling badly. I probably think that most of us got through this flu. I probably got it sometimes in the last 4 months, like most of the people. And started talking to my friends and family. We realized that actually we all went through it and we came out of it healthy again, and that the people who were hit were the people above 80s, and that was a terrible hit for our elder people. We should have protected them much more. That was our biggest mistake. And the people with already pre-existing health issues should have been protected more. This is what we lacked and what we did not understand at the beginning. And and then the second point I really did not understand and did not like was the dragging on that. Once it was clear that the numbers indicated that only the very, let's say, the weakest part of our society were in danger, we should have acted quickly to help them even more. But then to put in motion again the wheel of our society without scaring people about numbers which were not correct. So people below 50 were people which were not really in danger if they did not have pre-existing, obviously, health issues, obviously. And with the right precautions, so cleaning your hands every mean it, etc., etc. That's what we've been doing, and we've been opening and operating for 3 months, Mark. And I'm not saying this from my golden home alone without getting in touch with people. We've been working hard, and we've been in contact with hundreds of and probably thousands of people. And what I'm telling you comes from my experience and from the live we've been living.
Yeah, I think Kate Nichols was in the press yesterday as well from UK Hospitality saying that a third of hotels across the country have been open in some guise, either looking after NHS workers or the homeless or vulnerable or anybody who needed some help. And there were basically zero cases of coronavirus coming from those hotels. And actually, as a sector, we are very used to working in very clean environments.
Exactly.
We always wash our hands because we're dealing
Exactly.
with food. And actually, we're probably a well-placed sector to reopen. Just before we start talking about reopening, I'm interested to know, was the support, so the government support here, particularly the sort of furloughing scheme, obviously there was some help with grants, albeit that most people probably didn't qualify for those, but was that a similar level of support for businesses in Italy, do you know?
No. I must say that in this case, the furlough system in UK worked perfectly well. I really can't complain about this. It managed us to keep all of our employees. So I'm very happy about this. In Italy, we have something similar called the Cassa Integrazione. It was a little bit delayed, but I think it worked pretty well too. When we come to the grants, then that's a totally different word, because at the end of the day, these grants, unless you qualified for that, so I don't remember, but it was below £250,000, something like that.
No, the grants were between, you had to have a rateable value between 15,000 and
Yeah,
51,000, which I think 71% of hospitality didn't qualify for.
didn't qualify.
Yeah, so
In
that was a
our
frustration.
case, sorry, the £250,000 was at the beginning. What was agreed as a grant, not as a grant, sorry, as
The loan, the CBILS?
the loan of the banks without signing personal guarantees.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
then, obviously, it was such a stupid thing to do. Then they changed it. But nevertheless, I've been talking to a lot of friends, and very few people got the money from banks. Don't forget, the banks are banks. So if you don't qualify exactly in the way they want, which means if you don't need money, because this is a basic rule of banks, if you don't need money, then they will give you a loan. If you need money, they won't give you a loan. This is the rule all around the world. And we qualified just because, as I was telling you, we had an amazing EBITDA. We were growing our business till the day we closed. So they could not give us help and a loan, which we're going to basically pay back. Don't forget, I'm not happy about this because it's a debt.
Yeah, it's true.
So I'm not happy at all.
Yeah.
It's not a success. It's a failure for all of us. But
Yeah.
that's the way it goes.
It's a frustration having to get in debt purely to keep your head above water, but I
With
guess,
banks,
yeah.
my God, don't get in the hands of banks.
Yeah, it's going to take a fair few years to come out the other side of this, I guess. Which probably leads us quite nicely onto. So, yeah, what's your strategy? When are you expecting to reopen?
So, as I told you, we did not completely closed ever, but we are gonna reopen the open air markets and our markets, or the open air area, sorry, of the markets, plus all our vendors from tomorrow.
Amazing.
So tomorrow, all of the vendors will come. They will start cooking. We will deliver food. Obviously, there's gonna be the possibility to take away food, and we are gonna open. And that's it. Because I think that the 22nd of July probably we will be able to see a second step, and people maybe might be able to start sitting down. As you exactly before said, no one got any virus from any supermarket or any restaurant. They mostly got it from hospitals, and I think we are in a very safe position. Everything has always been kept super clean, and we will continue to do so. We just will increase it even more, and we are very. I'm quite comfortable to say that it's time to reopen, and there won't be any problem. in our sector. I don't think in any sector actually, if you maintain some good controls.
So that's good that you can reopen. So tomorrow, we'll date this podcast slightly because this will have happened before it goes out. But June the 10th tomorrow. So the bit you're looking at reopening is literally it's the outside space and it's takeaway food that people can come into that outside space. They can buy and they can take away. Presumably they can't consume it on the premises. They've got to take it somewhere, have they? Or?
Yes, and honestly, who knows, Mark? Because nobody knows. Even the people, the government. Every day there's something new, something different, and you see people in the parks eating together. So I wonder where is the now the barriers between being together, eating together in a park, but not in an open air market. What is the difference? I don't really get it. I was in Borough Market last Saturday, and you hardly walk. It's completely packed. So, and people with or without a mask, because as you know, they are not needed. As also the WHO says, you don't need the mask if you walk along in the streets. It's just you don't even need gloves, actually, if you keep on washing your hands. And these markets have been completely packed for the last month. So where is the limit between sitting down and not sitting down? I think it's just
it's a frustration, I think, isn't it? We've got a place on the beach and the beach has been absolutely packed during the heat wave, and
it's almost sometimes ridiculous, honestly speaking. The government doesn't know what to do and they have no clue.
No, and I sympathise. I guess they're sort of, they're stuck between, bad news only scenario where on one side the economy gets screwed, on the other side people die, and then you've got, I guess, the pressure of the press. But it doesn't feel right that the parks, the beaches, the open spaces can be packed, and yet there's people with beer gardens and terraces and private spaces that would be much easier to maintain distancing in than it would be on the street. It's the irony that they can come into your place and not sit down, but they can go over to the park and sit on top of each other. Doesn't make sense, because you could limit numbers much better, couldn't you? So hopefully there's been some rumours going around in the last 48 hours about outside spaces being able to open on the 22nd of June, even for sit down, haven't they? And for me, that feels logical, even if inside space is the 4th of July, and we could debate that all day long, but outside just seems crazy, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then I think again, we should not stop being careful about the over 80 years old population. We should be careful about this. But in the majority of cases, as we said, I don't think the risk is as high as before. And clinically, the power of this virus is diminishing. Obviously, you can see it. And we should count the deaths and not only the people who got coronavirus, because this is also creating confusion in people. You can get a flu, but you don't die from flu every time. So you need to give numbers. Also, the government, we should read numbers and give numbers in a more comprehensive way, I think.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some analysis done at the end of this, isn't there, where we will be able to have a much clearer picture of what was happening, and it's the increase in deaths, I think, isn't it? Like you say, there's a lot of people dying with coronavirus, but not of coronavirus, and the only way we'll know that in the end is when we compare sort of an average year to an average year, and we do that over multiple countries. Yeah,
which doesn't mean we do not have to be careful. We need to take all the precautions. But if you read this article from Alex Berenson, who just was, as I was telling you, is this first chapter of the book, which is now on Amazon. What's the difference between getting drunk and driving a car and going against the wall? Did you die because you were driving, or did you die because you were drunk? So this is the thing. Did you die because of the alcohol, or because there was a wall against your car? Yeah. So it's the difference between dying for coronavirus or with coronavirus. So this is something that we should analyze a little bit better to have better data.
Yeah.
To analyze. That's the point. What I'm saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I guess that will come in time, and it will be interesting to look back. What can the government do to help you get reopened, Andrea? Is there any additional help that you would like to see?
Uh, the only help I would like to see is to be what I said before, to read the data in a different way and to stop um, this panicking around because it's not helping society. That's what I would like to see from our leaders.
Yeah, this change, I guess, I was chatting to Charlie McVeigh a couple of days ago, who's launched Project Pint. I don't know if you know Charlie, but
No,
very much talking about this change that we need, which is the sort of the FOGO to FOMO, so the fear of going out into the back into the fear of missing out, and we need to change the narrative. Because I guess some people are still, very scared, and understandably, because that was the government message, and I think we all were for a period of time. I think
we
some
were
of us have just,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
become relaxed faster. But does
And
that feel like one of the bigger challenges we're going to have for the sector? Is it's all well and good opening, but unless people have the confidence to go
yes,
back to
yes, yes.
normal, we'll be running at a loss.
And there was a beautiful phrase that I read that was we should um, start living again, basically, and stop this fear of dying is blocking us from living again. And sometimes this fear is causing more troubles and more problems to us than the virus per se. And that's the point. I've seen young ladies, 30s year old, working here also with us, blocked at home, completely in panic. And and this is terrible if you think of what will be the outcome in the next year, because we will see a lot of troubles in the next year because of this lockdown, in terms of businesses, in terms of unemployment, in terms of health diseases. I think we will see it, but that's what I would like to see the government doing, and to give reassurance and to give real numbers and to tell people what's going on for real without panicking.
Yeah. One of the things we'd seen as a sector, I guess, over the last few years, and I know we've already chatted about small is beautiful, but we've seen this sort of the rise and rise and rise of the chains in hospitality and the VC sort of backed growth. Lots of multiples, lots of leasehold properties, very very fast growth. Do you think that era is going to have changed? And if you put on your small is beautiful hat, are there some positive opportunities? Because you just alluded to the fact that a lot of business has changed. A lot of people won't probably come off the back of this. Do you have any thoughts on what the sector might look like post
No,
pandemic?
well, my view on these chains, which I found inhuman, even the food they serve, obviously. Unfortunately, I think that again, this pandemic has revealed an even higher level of inequality, because the rich people and the rich companies are not suffering in the same way of 80% of the population. And so when people say everybody has suffered, it's not true. Only the rich people can say this. And unfortunately, some of the small entrepreneurs will find it difficult to open again, while these big chains probably will find it easier on one hand. On the other hand, it was also, apart from the coronavirus, I think there was already a change in the business and in the industry. As you see, a lot of shops are closing down, and a lot of main streets are full of empty shops. For one main reason is that the old strategy of applying a fixed rent to any business is just finished. So we proposed 5 years ago the idea of revenue share with the landlords, to create a kind of a partnership with the landlords, in order for them to get a good revenue, obviously, but also an uncapped one. If we were doing better, they would even earn more. But if we were not doing well enough, they would also earn less, because it's a partnership, it's a revenue share model. So this, I think, is the future. Um, Even without the pandemic, obviously, this was something that started 3 or 4 years ago already. And what I would like to do is to open more and more markets, Mercato Metropolitano, or markets like us, who can give space to the smaller entrepreneurs to work together. Because when I say small is beautiful, it's true, but we also have to work together and to aggregate smaller entrepreneurs to work all together and to become stronger.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations going on nationally around sort of national timeout, rent reviews, the fact that the previous rents were just unsustainable, and that's been part of the problem for the industry, is sort of all these ever closing margins. What's your thoughts on a lot of people are saying that maybe rents need to go to a percentage of turnover, and what sort of level do you think we're talking about, and is that going to be different in cities and sort of across the country, or is there almost like a fixed level which is a fair and reasonable level that any operators could pay a landlord on that sort of shared?
But I tell you, this depends on what kind of business you do or you run. If it's food, if it's not food. So the variable changes can go from probably 6% to 12% or 20% if it's luxury, maybe. But again, this is the only way forward. We've been doing this for 5 years. We don't pay fixed rent. So when I saw this timeout campaign, I found it a little bit antiquated. Why are you asking landlord to decrease their rent? Why did you sign that contract at the beginning? So that's the point. I don't like people who complain, Mark. And if your sales were affected because you were selling booze and now you're not selling booze anymore, you should have really planned it ahead in a different way. So what I did not agree with that campaign was that the only reason for that campaign was to ask landlord to lower the expectation in rents. That's not the way. You're just moving your problem to someone else. You're shifting the problem to someone else. That's not the way to solve things. Solve things is to find a more comprehensive solution. Talk to the landlord. Obviously, they are part of the problem. Not say they are not the problem, but is your business model viable? Ask yourself this. Is it something that is good for the visitor, the customers, for the citizens? Are you offering food which is healthy? Are you helping the community? If you're doing all of this, then you should also discuss it with your landlord and tell them what you're doing. So you see, it's just blaming the others has never been my point of strength.
Yeah, well, it would be lovely to change that and have a much more partnership approach, I suppose. I think it's going to take some time. I think there's a lot of landlords, there's a lot of old properties owned, probably particularly in London, by people, landlords who have no interest whatsoever in your business, but only in their returns and their pensions.
Then leave them empty.
Say
Leave
again?
them empty.
Leave them empty.
Leave the shops
empty. Yeah.
And that will change. And then I would like to see, that's something else I'd like to see. I'd like to see the government to intervene and say, if your shop is empty for more than 1 year, we use it. Finished. You can't leave spaces empty just because you are asking for a stupid amount of rent. You cannot do this. You need to have a sound economy who can work and who can prosper in the right way by creating value. And real estate, very often, the business model is just to extract value, which is finished as a model of the business and of a society nowadays. We need to create value. If it does not create value, then the government should intervene. That's something which it would be a positive action from the government.
Yeah. When are you going to go for mayor, Andrea, so we can all vote for you? you can make these changes.
I think I wouldn't be a wonderful politician. I think because the compromise is not exactly. If I have a view, a little bit, if I have something in which I believe, I don't compromise a lot.
Yeah, no, true, which is a good thing. Well, look, sort of coming to a close because I'm conscious of time, but you're reopening, across the sector. It's not going to be easy. We've got this sort of flowing date. You're going to start doing some bits tomorrow. There were some rumours going around on the 22nd of June. We've sort of still even not been told officially, although we've been indicated 4th of July at the moment. What's your thoughts around the complexities of opening? Because it's not just a case of going in and turning a light switch, is it? There's staff, there's suppliers, I guess. Even though we furloughed our people, there's going to be an element of recruitment, or other people will have gone and found jobs. How hard do you think it's going to be to sort of reignite, even just on your level, if they're decent size operations? What's your thoughts on getting the doors back open fully?
It's a nightmare, and we all have to be aware of this. But it's, again, My father told me when I was younger, did you want the bicycle? Now cycle. Finish. So we wanted to do this. We have to to face all problems, and to open this big machine again meant to clean everything up from scratch, and then check all the equipment, and get some of the people off the furlough, and pay them again. So it's a big risk. And then to convince and to talk to all of our partners to come and open, even if in the next 2 weeks the sales are going to be minimal. We know it is going to be probably 10% of what they used to do and what we used to do. But it's the only way to then get ready for the 22nd or whatever, first week of July. If you don't start now, you cannot warm up, and you cannot get back on your feet and have the engines ready to run when it will be all open again. So that's the only way to do it. And this has been all my life. I've never started a company or a shop which would start right away from day one. I would have always opened it 2 weeks in advance to make it work a little bit, because that's the way it is.
No, I agree with that. I think you're right. And I think you've just got to start. I mean, I'm also a governor on a school, and we were chatting about reopening the school and the dates, and it was pretty fluid. But I'm like,
Oh,
look, you
let's not
just
go
need to
there.
start. Yeah, you
Let's
know,
not go
exactly.
into education, because on that
Yeah.
I would have a lot
We,
to say.
we could do another couple of hours. I think my son, who is 12, would probably like to join you for that, Andrea, because he's not a huge fan of an education system that was probably developed in another era. However, we can't fix that as well today, Andrea. So look,
We
thank you so much.
can't,
Yeah,
but we should
yeah.
next time.
We'll do another one. We'll do Andrea and Mark's views on the education system. Look, are there any other burning issues? Is there anything else, Andrea, that you want to
Yes,
chat
there is
about?
a very
Yeah, go on.
important one, very important one, the agricultural bill.
I
No,
thought you were going to mention this. I had written on my notes here chlorinated chicken and Jamie Oliver, but
we have to stop
go
it.
on,
We
go on,
have to
go for
stop
it.
it.
Yeah,
I'm all for Jamie Oliver. I'm all for Jamie Oliver. I also publicly said it. The letter he sent to Boris was perfect. He's totally right. We have to stop it, because this is ridiculous. You want to be out of the European Union? Fine with me, no problem. You helped the European Union, you as UK, to have these amazingly beautiful standards of food. UK was part of it in creating these standards. And now, just because you get out of the European Union, you want to go back to give chloride or hormones fed meat to your citizens? What a government could do this to their citizens, to their people? This is a disgrace. I agree on having a fair commercial trade with USA, because you are in need of that, but don't poison your citizens again. Stop it.
yeah. No, I agree with that. So this is the issue, basically. The biggest issue on chlorinated chicken, isn't it? It's not around the safety of the chlorinated chicken, because we use chlorination sometimes for vegetables. The issue is that it can hide poor animal standards. Kind of is that basically it's a sort of a response to the fact that those chickens may not have lived in very good conditions. There's no
Have you seen
motivation
it?
to do so.
Have you seen the way
Well,
they are?
yeah,
I mean,
and even it's horrible. But even
it's
some
horrible.
of the systems in the UK with battery farming, are not acceptable. I just wish that people
No, I
cared
totally
more
agree with you.
where their
I'm
food
not saying that UK is perfect. I'm not saying the European Union is perfect, but we are reaching a
yeah,
decent level of standard food, because, again, Tesco is here and Sainsbury is here. They're still selling chicken, which I would never give to a
exactly.
kid.
Yeah,
So, but at least you don't add additional
correct.
junk to what you're already selling.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, let's make
Stop
it better,
this.
not make it worse. So no, I agree.
Exactly.
I
That's the
agree
point.
100%. Yeah, let's hope it's getting a lot of publicity. I need to check the latest on the details. It seems crazy, but no, that's a good thing to bring up. And yeah, people go off and do your own research and support right
Yes,
to
they
your MP.
should.
There's plenty of stuff online about the agricultural bill and how to help. So that's a good shout. Look, Andre, thank you so much again for spending the time. I always really enjoy chatting to you, and your philosophy, as much as anything, is fantastic. Where should people go if they want to follow your perspective and your journey? Anywhere in particular?
Well, on Instagram, in Mercato Metropolitano on Instagram, that's where we are very active, on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Perfect.
If Facebook continues like this, probably for a very short time, if he does not fight against this racial statements of Trump, I don't think we are going to probably continue with Facebook in the future. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
But on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, you will find, or our website, obviously, you will find a lot of our activities around all these aspects.
Yeah, perfect. Do Facebook still own Instagram? Is that going to become a problem, Andrea?
That's a problem. So, guys, I can't
But
stand
I
this.
will
You
put.
cannot.
Let's not go there. We'll be off on another hour.
Another one.
I'm
So let's see how many episodes we have to shoot.
Exactly. I will put the links up to the various accounts on the website though. But for now, Andrea, look, have a beautiful afternoon, and thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. It was always a pleasure to talk to you.
So there you have it. As I said, Andrea always has a strong opinion and a philosophy or two, but I do find him a thoroughly engaging and entertaining individual. So I hope you enjoyed our chat. If you can do me a favour, head over to the website humansofhospitality.co.uk. You can sign up there to a weekly newsletter where I'll keep you updated on any new episodes and no other kind of marketing nonsense. But whilst you're there, if you can also hit the Patreon page and support the podcast in some way, that is exceptionally helpful, and all the cash that we raise just goes on buying better kit and getting better guests. Okay, thank you so much. Best of luck to everybody out there who is reopening their doors, and I'll be back soon to chat about the experience of people reopening. Thank you.